Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
He just told me I have to talk till 25 after. I'm Al, I'm an alcoholic. Happy birthday, Karen and Derek. And Mom, welcome. You know, my wife Ann, her mom used to come over from, when we were newly married, her mom used to come over from Scotland every year, and she used to love to go to the AA meetings. But she constantly, when we would leave, she would say to Ann, "You're not an alcoholic, you're just a drunk." So, and I won't tell you her story, but it's a hell of a lot worse than mine. I was sitting there thinking, you know, we live in Santa Monica. I start getting butterflies at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm 33 years sober, and like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I start getting butterflies. I purposely don't think about what I'm going to say, but it's so important for me to be accepted. I'd never gotten over that need to be accepted, that need to get the message over to people, or I guess the need to be loved. And I don't know why, I've had plenty of love in my life. And the butterflies go away when you start to talk. I know that, you know. So it's good to have newcomers here. It's good to see people celebrate a birthday. I love AA with all my heart. It's the only reason I'm standing up here, that I'm alive, is thank God I found AA in New York in April of 1969. And you know, I don't want to jump too far ahead. I was thinking, we left the house, and I don't drive well at night anymore. And usually when we get in the car, Ann won't drive in LA, but she certainly drives from the passenger side. And and we usually end up in, you know, it's a wonder we're not divorced just coming out here on Lincoln Boulevard tonight because of the traffic. But we're still together as far as I know. And, so anyway, you know, it's who am I and why am I here, and who are you and why are you here, you know? You know, it's a wonderful place to be. It just is. Where's the new persons? Where are you? Hi. It's a great place to be. You look up there at that step shade, that's all we do. It's really a very simple program. You just get somebody to help you, explain what it says up there, and what I'm doing right now is the number 12 there. It says that I will carry the message, and the message is very simple. AA works if you want it to work. For everybody, it doesn't matter whether you got 2 minutes or 5 years or 20 years. You got to do it a day at a time, but you got to want it. And I always like to say, it isn't for people who need it, it's for people who want it. I wanted it very badly. I didn't know that. I come from a small town outside of Boston, and sometimes I slip into a Boston accent a little bit, and that's okay. It was a mill town. It's a mill town. It was a woolen mill, and it was in the Depression. I'm in the springtime of my senility, as you can see, and it was a little mill town, and they made blankets, and everybody worked in the mill. You were a weaver or a spinner or a dyer, or you cut cloth or something, but you went through school, which was a melting pot. Our town was a little melting pot of somebody from every country in the world, and everybody went in the mill. You know, it's like on the other side where they all went into the coal mines, but everyone went into the mill. And my father was an alcoholic, but it was long before they called people alcoholics. My father was, in plain words, a town drunk. My mother always explained it by saying that he had been gassed, mustard gas, in World War I, and that was why he behaved that way. He never worked a day in his life. He never worked a day in his life. And it was the Depression, and, you know, it was a real Angela's ashes kind of thing. But he was a very sad man and a very angry man, and because of his anger, although he never touched me, he threatened a lot. And because of the circumstances, I had older brothers who went off to, eventually went off to war, but in those days, the family doctor made my little sister and I go up the hill to live with my grandmother. So I had the best of both worlds. I can't even say that I had a terrible childhood, because I went up the hill and they had a bathroom with a tub, and I had my wonderful old Irish grandmother. I had a substitute father, the man I'm named for, Albert, was my Uncle Albert. And I had my Aunt Rose to cook and clean and do all that. So I had 2 fathers and 2 mothers and a wonderful grandmother. And I didn't really feel any great sense of loss or deprivation or anything like that. I just thought, this is not bad. And every night after my Uncle Albert read the newspaper, he would hand it to me, and I would walk down the hill and give it to my mother to read. And I had the best of both worlds. When I was a little kid, I say now, I was born with a head full of dreams. I've been blessed for my entire life with a severe case of optimism. And it's worked for me. It's worked for me for all these years. I can get negative, but I can snap out of it and go back into positive stuff again. I can see good in a lot of places where maybe somebody else wouldn't. I also believe so strongly in God and in my faith and in my belief that since he got me sober, he obviously has good things in store for me. So I was born with this head full of dreams. I knew when I was a little kid that I wasn't going to go in that damn mill. I loved music. My Uncle Albert he did minstrel shows, and he played the piano. So after supper at night, my grandmother was sitting in her rocking chair. My Uncle Albert would play the piano and teach me all these songs, and I would sing and dance with my sister. And so it was a very, very happy childhood. And I remember I knew when I was 10 years old that I wasn't going to go in the mill. I was going to go to New York and be a performer and be a star. I knew that at 10. And I came home from school one day, and I said to my grandmother, "Grandma, when I grow up and I go to New York and I become a big star, I'm going to come home and take you in an airplane and we'll go back to Ireland together." And she said, in Gaelic, she said, "Poor Albert, you were born with a wish in one hand and shit in the other." I could segue right into my alcoholism right there. But I'll tell you one more thing. I did get to do that. I didn't get to be a star, but I did get to go to New York. But you know, when I was 16 and trying to help and all, I got a job. I went to the 5 and 10, and I filled out an application blank to be a stock clerk. And when I looked at the application blank, it said all this information, and then it said father's occupation, and I thought, oh my God, you know, my father's occupation, he's never worked a day in his life. What'll I put down? And then I thought, well, you know, my memories of him are always he's passed out on the front lawn in the bushes. And so I put down landscape gardener. I had a great imagination. And so anyway, I went into the Navy and I served a couple years in the war. And when I got out, the GI Bill paid for me to go to school in New York. And then I started working in New York, and I started getting little jobs. And I played the Catskills, and I did this, and I did that, and summer stock, and I was really enjoying my life completely, and it was working. I even did a Rheingold beer commercial. Not a commercial, a Rheingold beer industrial show, where they choose Miss Rheingold, and I was one of the boys in the chorus, the first row, second number, third one in from the left, you know. My whole career was sort of like third row, fourth one from the right, or this or that. You won't see me in old movies. And, but I had a wonderful, wonderful time. And then I toured for a while with different things. And then I had a bad agent, and the agent booked me to be in a water show, a watercade, with this girl that I couldn't stand. We were supposed to be, we had been on television, and there had been a thing in a magazine about America's Dancing Little Sweethearts. I hated this girl who was supposed to be my sister, and but we were cute. So he booked us, and he says, "This is a great opportunity. You're going to tour the whole country." So I find out afterwards it's Johnny Weissmuller, Watercade. Johnny Weissmuller, you know him, Tarzan. Some of us remember Johnny Weissmuller. Well, Johnny Weissmuller was old and tired and fat and flabby. I don't know if he's alive, but rest in peace anyway. This show it had a dry stage up top and then a big tank. And we played all of the arenas all over the country. It was like traveling with a bad, second-rate circus. I mean, it was incredible. We had old, tired, former Olympic swimmers and divers and all that. We had a chorus of very masculine ladies, swimmers, who had to double as chorus girls. It was sad. And anyway, we were touring all over the country, playing in big, huge arenas to half-filled crowds. The closest we got to Boston was Providence, Rhode Island. So my whole family came to Providence, Rhode Island to see me starring, and I had good billing, in this water show. And friends came and neighbors came, and they came to the matinee. Well, at the matinee, half of the ladies that were supposed to be in the finale, which was Swan Lake, which was a ballet, half the ladies had their period and they were short, and they didn't have enough people to go in. And the stage manager said, "You're going in as a swan," because I was small and I could fit in it. So they all had like real swans, you know, fake swans over their heads. And then there was a piece of mesh in the neck. And they were Olympic swimmers, and they did this ballet. And blue lights, the stadium was all blue lights and roaming around, and the orchestra was playing Swan Lake. And it was really quite beautiful for a tacky show. And it was the finale. So I had never even watched that because I was getting ready to come on up the stage. So I didn't know what the hell to do. The stage manager said to me, "Just follow the swan in front of you." So he crammed this swan over my head, and I looked out and I see, sure enough, there's a piece of net, and I see, sure enough, the ass of the swan in front of me. And the music is playing, so I started swimming and following the swan. And it was all fine, and I thought, after a few minutes, I thought, this is very tiring. This pool can't be that deep. I'm going to put my feet down. So I was going like this, and I put my feet down, and I didn't realize it was all slime on the bottom, and I slipped, and I fell out of the line, and I couldn't, for the life of me, find the swan's ass in front of me. So I I swam and bobbled and hit swans and knocked people over. And I ruined the whole finale. And my mother came backstage afterwards, and I said, how did you like the show? And she said, oh, it was lovely, Albert, but what happened to that wee swan? I was right after that, I thought, you know what? I think I better change my dreams. I was getting on in age. I was about 27 or 28. And you know, I was living out of a suitcase. I was, you know, and everybody else had houses and families and regular jobs, and they had kids, and all my brothers, and everybody had all these wonderful kids. And you know, I thought, what I really want is to get married and have a family. And so maybe I'll go on the other side of the entertainment business. So that's what I did. And luckily, because in the Navy I had been trained for court reporting and all, I got a job out here at Columbia Pictures. And they were looking for somebody. They didn't tell me what the job was. And the lady that was the head of personnel tested me, and I was really good. Well, I didn't know it, but what they were looking, in those days they didn't have faxes and they didn't have all this other stuff. You had the teletype machines. And I ended up working for Harry Cohn, the president of Columbia Pictures. I was the second secretary. There was the big guy. But I did all of he would talk to New York, you know, when I had the headset on, and I would type like shorthand to New York, to the women in New York, and then they would answer, and he would say, jam it, and I would jam it and yell at them, and we yelled about the cost of Rita Hayworth's shoes and all that, and I did really, really well, and he liked me, and he was a terror, but he liked me. So here I was, starting a whole new life, and I got one of the best jobs in Hollywood. So I was very lucky. Well, I got a vacation, and I thought, this is really wonderful. I'm on my way up. I loved the business. You know, God, it was Pal Joey time. It was Frank Sinatra here one day in my desk, in my chair, in my office. Rita Hayworth waiting to see him. And, you know, it was wonderful. And boy, the letters I could write home and all that. So I went back east, and I visited my sister. I took the girl next door out, and I was there for 2 weeks. We saw each other for 2 weeks. I went back to the West Coast. We continued our love affair by mail, and decided to get married. So that was it. What I found out afterwards was I was rushing in to create this whole new MGM musical ending for my life, and she was running away from this family. Well, the family that she came from were descendants of Ralph Waldo Emerson in Connecticut, and I was Shanty Irish, and so they didn't accept me too well. They all talked like this, and they had a lot of things, and I didn't know what to get Mother for Christmas, so I got her a ballroom, you know. And so I had a sense from when I met them that they weren't going to really like it, especially since we were getting married in a Catholic church. We got married. She came to California. She hated it. But all she did was gripe about, this was a mistake, let's go home. So anyway, I won't go into the whole thing. I fought it, I tried. I gave up that job. I went back east. I tried another whole career. I did everything, but the marriage broke up, and I ended up with my son. We had a boy, Kevin, when we were married 11 months. And he's still our pride and joy today. But I had Kevin, and I was in the advertising business in New York, and I was learning to be a copywriter. I was an assistant, and I was pretty good at that too. So anyway, I had Kevin with my sister in in Connecticut. I was the weekend father. I had a beautiful apartment in New York. I was doing very, very well. And they would come in, I would go up there. And anyway, I picked up a VO Dry Manhattan. Hooray, I finally got to it. I picked up a drink. I was going to make a presentation in an ad meeting, and it was very important. It was my first time out in front of that kind of an audience. And I was scared. My boss said to me, have what I'm having. He had a VO Dry Manhattan. I didn't drink that much, or hardly at all. And it meant nothing to me. It wasn't really a part of my life. Not for any reason, not because my father, nothing. It just was, as a disciplined performer, you didn't. And at a wedding, you did, and it was, you know, it wasn't important to me. Had a VO Dry Manhattan, had a second VO Dry Manhattan, did a presentation, made everybody laugh, and I was a big success in my agency. And it was a big day, but I know now, alcoholically, I didn't credit any of it to me, to my personality or anything else. I thought, these VO Dry Manhattans really work. And that was the beginning of it. That's what I thought. So I started to drink. The marriage was over. I was Catholic, full of guilt, ostracized from church and part of my family. I was outside of everything, and I filled myself with pity. Where did you go wrong? How could someone with so much promise turn out to be such a screw up, and a terrible person, and rotten, and you ruined her life, and you maybe ruined Kevin's and all of that. And the more I thought, the more I drank. I'm trying to rush because I want to get to recovery. Anyway, I just drank to forget, and that's what you can't do, you know. You just can't drink to forget. It doesn't go away. The pain doesn't go away. The hate, the hurt doesn't go away. Nothing goes away. It just doesn't help. The drink or the drug is never going to help me solve a single problem in my whole life. So anyway, I got to the point where I'd get to Grand Central Station to take the train to Connecticut on Friday night, and I would call and lie and say, I'm not on that train, I'm on the next one. Why? Because I couldn't get off the bar stool. What happened is I literally, absolutely made a choice, a deliberate choice, between a bottle of whiskey and my son. And eventually I lost my son. My ex-wife remarried. They changed his name, they moved away, and from 5 years old until 18 years old, I never saw my son. 13 years. So anyway, I drank myself into the VA hospital in the Bronx. I drank myself finally out of there. I got out of there, and I had to go to AA. People took me in, friends from Boston. I slept on the couch. I went to an AA meeting. I didn't think I was an alcoholic. At the end, in a cheap room in the Winslow Hotel in New York, where the toilet was down the hall, which is where I ended up. I lost all my apartment, all my furniture, all my clothes, everything. And I ended up there, and I told these people, I don't know what's wrong. I called, tried to get in the VA again, and they said, you're an alcoholic, go to AA. So I told these people, could I sleep on your couch? I have to go to AA. I called AA. I didn't know anything about it. I said, where is the meeting? Tonight in New York, one meeting. I didn't know. So they told me where to go, and I went to that meeting. That was April of 1969. And these guys, in a beginner's meeting, they said, you're new, come on in, sit down, just listen. If you have any questions, blah. And when it was over, stay for the speaker meeting. Come here the next night, come here the next. Well, that was a Thursday night. Friday night was the Yorkville group. They told me to be there. So I went to the big meeting like this, even bigger, and they were having their birthdays. They call them anniversaries back in New York. So this girl got up, and they said, and Anne is celebrating 1 year. And I was way in the back with another newcomer. We were both shaking and, sweating, and nobody wanted to be near us. And this little thing walked up to the microphone, and she got an ovation from this whole crowd. I didn't know then that it had taken her 6 years, that crowd had literally kept trying, and Anne, after 6 years, finally got 1 year. And when she stood up at the podium, they just exploded, Well, I remembered her, and I remember her today in that yellow dress with no sleeves, little linen thing. And then that was Friday night. Well, Saturday night, I went where they told me, and who sits in front of me at this huge meeting but Anne? So I'm new, shaking, sweating, tapped her on the shoulder and said, hi, I'm Al. Congratulations. And she said, thank you. And that was it. But a couple of weeks later, we're in a coffee shop, and all the people that are in AA are over here in these booths, and the people that are new to AA and want to be in AA but too shy to ask if they can sit over there or over here, and I was over there with them. And evidently, I didn't know it, but her sponsor said to her, we're having a block party, you got to invite 2 newcomers, that's part of your recovery. So she came over and threw an address on the table at me and said, you want to go to a block party, bring some Coke or a Sara Lee or something. And I thought, my God, I'm having a date. You know? I'm having a date. I didn't know she was ordered to get 2 sweating newcomers to come to the thing. So I went to this thing. She met me out on the street, and she said, I'm going to introduce you to some guy, but don't talk to any other women. They're all crazy. And that was the beginning. When I got a year, we got married. We got married after a year. Everybody in AA in New York knew both of us, and they said, don't marry her, she's crazy. And they told her, don't marry him, he's still sweating. And so when I had a year, we went up to Westport, Connecticut, my sponsor and my sister, and Ann and I got married by a justice of the peace. And that was 32 years ago. We've been married 32 years. And it's all because of this. It's all because of this and the people in AA and the meetings that we go to and all of that. So, you know, anything can happen. So as far as I'm concerned, all my dreams have been realized. I want to tell you one more thing quickly. When I was newly sober, I began to feel maybe I'm going to be okay. And I would say to my sponsor, oh, what'll I do about Kevin? And he'd say, write him a letter, send him a Christmas present. So I did for a while when I knew where he was. But in my early sobriety, in our early marriage, there was always this ghost on my shoulder, unfinished business. Everything was going so good. And then you would go, oh, there he is. And it was a nephew's graduation in a big gymnasium in Connecticut. We were late, and Ann said, let's go push through that aisle over there, and we'll get to where we were supposed to be sitting. And I said, no, because I'm polite from Boston. She's pushy from Glasgow. And she says, follow me. She grabbed me, and we went through a row halfway through the gymnasium to get where I would have been polite and gone down the aisle and around and said, excuse me. And she just pulled me through and nicked people's knees and all that. And as we went through, this woman grabbed my arm and said to this 18-year-old, Kevin, this is your father. Right there. After 13 years, Kevin, this is your father. And this 18-year-old, good-looking, very handsome, looks just like me, kid got up and he just grabbed me. He just grabbed me and hugged me. And then I don't know who graduated or what they sang, but I sat over there and he was over there. Or no, I was there and he was there. And we just looked at each other through the whole thing. Just stared at each other. He was looking at me. He told me later that he had been, when he was a little boy, he would sneak maps of New York, and he and his buddy would plan to run away and go find me in New York. Anyway, he came back into our life with a vengeance, with Ann's help. Ann's help. I needed a lot of help in that area. If that kid asked me for anything, he would have got it. Ann said, no, he will earn it. There's no guilt involved here. There's an amend involved. You have a disease, blah, 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 blah. And the kid and I, and Kevin and Ann and I worked it all out. You know why we worked it out? We worked it out because we do the steps. Because we know how to say that we're less than perfect. We know that there's a spirituality to imperfection. And we were able to pass that on to our son, Kevin. And he came back into our lives with a vengeance. And when he was 21 years old, we were living in Greenwich, Connecticut. I'm now doing really well. Ann brought me good luck. I got a wonderful job. That's a funny story, but I can't tell it. I got back into the industry, and I was doing very well. We bought a house in Greenwich, and Kevin was in college. He came home and he was 21 years old, and he handed me a piece of paper on my AA birthday that year. And in it, he had gone to the Stamford, Connecticut court, and he'd had his name legally changed back to Kevin Charles Sullivan. And that was my gift. That was his way of saying thank you. And it's been great. He's 40 now, 40, more than 40, and he's in the business, surprise, and he does well. And so I'm getting to have a second life. I live vicariously through the stuff that he's doing, you know, and he's wonderful. He plays golf with Ann every single weekend that he can when he's not sailing, and it's all because of the program. So, you know, that's the happy ending, really. But I think for the newcomer, I'd like to say that when you read this step here, it says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. Well, you will, if you're like the rest of us, have a series of spiritual awakenings, I believe. My first spiritual awakening, the lifting of my spirit, was when I had a temp job in sobriety, and I got a paycheck, and I went and bought a wash and wear short sleeve blue shirt, button down shirt, and I wore it to my meeting that night, and the guy said to me, "Sully, you got a new shirt." That was a spiritual awakening. So don't wait for a cloudburst or a white light or anything else. It could be as simple as, oh, I suddenly feel good and I wonder why. I haven't felt like this in a long time. Or that wonderful moment that comes and goes where you just say, I just had this fleeting thought that I may just be able to turn my life around. That's a spiritual awakening. I believe in my heart that we all have a pilot light. A pilot light. It's spirit. It has nothing to do with religion or anything else. It's spirituality. I've got a pilot light. When I was a kid, that flame was very, very high. I put it out with alcohol. When I found AA, the flame went up, the pilot light, like the one on your gas stove, went up a little teeny bit. When I married Ann, it went up a little bit more. When Kevin came back into my life, it began to really flame. So from flicker to flame is really the story of AA. You may feel like your life is a flicker right now, but it can be if you choose to. You can make it a flame. Everybody in this room has got a pilot light. Nobody can turn it down. You can turn it up. And if you go to enough meetings and you need help turning your pilot light up, that's what we're for. We will help you turn your pilot light up. We will help you do for yourself what you never thought was possible. And it's all simple. You just say, I can't handle it. Maybe they can. I think I'll let them. And then in the fourth step, we just say, who am I? The fifth step, we say, this is who I am. In the sixth step, we say, I'm ready to change. In the seventh step, we say, help me change. In the eighth step, we say, who did we harm? In the ninth step, we say, oops, I'm sorry. The 10th step, we take a little inventory and we say, how am I doing? And in the 11th step, we say, God, what else can I do? I am grateful. What else can I do? And in the 12th step, it says, AA works. If you work it, it's working for me and a lot of people in this room, and it can work for you. And it doesn't, you don't have to be a newcomer. If you're getting like me and, you know, you get to a point where you just feel that you have nothing else to say. And then you get up here like I am tonight with diarrhea of the mouth. But usually, I don't do that. Because I go to meetings and people say, well, say something brilliant. Well, you know, after a while, you get to the point where the clock goes around and you feel like the more you're around, the less, you mustn't feel this way, Karen, the longer you're around, kind of the less you have to say. You know, because there's so little. There's just another way to say it. It's a very, very simple program. So simple. You know, you can come in here like I did. Total strangers loved me back to life. And loved me until I could learn to love myself. And loved me until I could learn to forgive myself. And then taught me how to ask for forgiveness. and taught me, most of all, to have hope. No matter what is going on in my world, there's an answer, and God will supply it. I'm sober. I've been through lots of stuff, illnesses, deaths, and all of that, and I didn't drink. And the whole secret is don't drink a day at a time. And if you have a problem that you can't handle, go to a meeting and let everybody else help you handle it. You know, I did very good. You can have 2 extra minutes for applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. Shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.